the 20th of July, and the AFU are bombing St. Petersburg and Moscow. Holy shit!
Blow it up. Fuck, hit it. Come on. Come on.
Damn. Muscovites are crying. Shit, the center of Moscow is exploding.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Right above us. There it goes, indeed.
Collapse in Moscow and St. Petersburg. More than 600 drones are attacking Russian cities. Oh.
This is the kind of horror that's happening here. It's been burning for 20 minutes already. I don't see a single fire truck, not a single person, no evacuation or anything at all. This is terrible. What if everything blows up here right now?
The AFU are attacking Moscow, St. Petersburg and strategic nuclear airfield. Another one just hit. Oh. Yeah, it's all happening somewhere right nearby. 60,000 Muscovites are stranded in airports, no power, no communication, no internet. Moscow, St. Petersburg, and 30 cities across Russia. For more than a day now, we've been attacking Moscow and the regions without pause.
Smoke. It's a disaster.
Collapse at Moscow airport. More than 200 flights have been cancelled. People in Moscow are panicking, crying, there's no food, cafes and ATMs are closing. A stampede has started. I've been trying for a whole day to communicate properly, to make calls, to get some rest, but it's not working.
Will it ever truly happen or not, in the end?
It's just not working out. Neither the airport is answering, nor can I get on a plane. No airlines, no one. It's not working. Lightning, friends, and Russia is exploding.
In the city, in the center of Moscow? Well, first of all, this isn't the center.
At this very moment, airfields are burning and the runways are littered with the wreckage of Su-34S and Su-35S.
Whoa, damn! That's why.
Moscow and St. Petersburg are paralyzed. More than 200 flights are delayed. Crowds, gridlock, shouting, panic at the airports. Moscow, St. Petersburg, the Moscow region, and the Leningrad region were subjected to a massive drone attack last week. At the airports in St. Petersburg and Moscow, there's a crush, panic, gridlock, and chaos. More than 200 flights have been delayed. For a whole day, crews haven't been able to take off. There's a communications outage across the entire country. Mobile internet is down. Because of Russian electronic warfare, drones are attacking Moscow and St. Petersburg. Trains are at a standstill. 12 missiles attacked the Kerch Bridge. And in the Leningrad region, there was a series of large explosions, a strike on the Angles 2 nuclear airfield. The strategic aviation base was attacked. Ammunition depots with aerial bombs are exploding. This is the work of the SBU, the GER, and the armed forces of Ukraine. Special Operation Web continues. And the most interesting part, cherry on top, is the attack on Russia's Pacific Fleet. A gas pipeline was blown up in Vladivostok. Units of the 155th Marine Brigade have been left without gas. The country is coming apart at the seams. The Kremlin is silent. The security forces are disoriented. We'll discuss all this with top analyst Alexander Dechenko right now.
Hello, Dasha. Hello, everyone.
How do you feel about the news this Sunday? Well, I'd say it's wonderful.
It's just mind-blowing. I say this deliberately. It's a mind-blowing spectacle. Even St. Petersburg is flooded, the dam broke, and the Neva overflowed its banks. The Gulf of Finland is just sending huge waves towards St. Petersburg. The city of Vladimir Putin is flooding. The city of his youth, his favorite city, an imperial city that was built on swamps not only by non-Russians, by the way. So St. Petersburg is flooding now. The dam has burst. When I look at this, I think they'll probably be boating around there soon. By the way, this has happened very rarely in history. This is a kind of sign, a symbol for Vladimir Putin. It seems to me that soon all of Russia will sink. It's just not clear in what. Maybe even in blood or in Vladimir Putin's own doing. Or simply, as they say, the belly button will come undone. And in the end, all of Russia will be flooded because of this criminal war. the 155th Brigade.
Yes.
This week is very important for this brigade, isn't it, Dasha? The 155th Brigade was recently destroyed, literally just days ago, by the Ukrainian armed forces and Ukrainian special services in the Kerch region. The deputy commander of the Pacific Fleet of the Russian Federation in the Kursk region was also eliminated, along with 11 other members of the high command of the 155th Brigade, after the Ukrainian armed forces used HIMARS. It is noteworthy that this Mikhail Gudkov, the deputy commander of the Pacific Fleet and commander of the 155th Brigade, sat for many years covering up the most terrible crimes that were committed throughout Russia for many, many years. Primorie. The 155th Brigade, which was killing people in Bucha, Hostomel, and Irpin, carrying out massacres here, has already been completely replaced 3 times because Putin has always used it as cannon fodder and continues to do so to this day. So in Primorie, for those who don't know, these guys, they are considered the most terrifying military unit in all of Russia. The hazing there, Dasha, the hazing is so severe, just so you understand. They behead conscripts there in Primorie, guys, aged 18 to 21. They cut off their heads, bury them in the forest, and beat them to death. All those thugs. And the whole country knows about it. All of Russia, all of Primorie. And no one does a damn thing. Not a damn thing. They're afraid of Putin. The FSB, some damn unit, some damn brigade, the 155th, stand up, the whole region, stand up, just twist their heads off, beat them to death with shovels, that Mikhail Gudkov. Ukraine and the armed forces of Ukraine did the dirty work for them, just like Israel has now done all the dirty work for Iran. But nevertheless, so for the 155th Brigade, it's a holiday. As for everything else, listen, I warned from the start that the Ukrainian campaign would only escalate. The campaign to undermine the Russian troops' offensive now, the summer offensive, it's stalled. The Sumy region has stalled. The southeastern direction is gradually stalling as well. And we can actually see that this is a major success what the armed forces of Ukraine, the SBU, the military, and other Ukrainian intelligence agencies are doing right now. This is extremely important. Right now, all opportunities are being undermined. I wouldn't be surprised if soon Russian Pacific Fleet ships are simply blown up, submarines are sunk, more fighter jets and bombers are destroyed. They've already struck the Sukhoi jets. They've hit angles. They're starting to attack. And do you know why, Dasha? Because if Donald Trump had completely stopped the weapons, then there would be absolutely no agreements and no obligations whatsoever. Previously, it was forbidden to strike Russian bases deep inside Russia with American weapons. Do you remember all those bans from Biden or Trump? But now, there's nothing. Did you cancel them? Did you give Putin the green light? Well, then Ukraine also believes it's been given the green light. That means they can strike and strike anywhere. And there will be strikes on Moscow, on St. Petersburg, on Leningrad, on Moscow and other regions, on Siberia, on Primorie, and so on, all the way down the line. For everything that has been done, and I'll tell you more, Dasha, I know that in the next 10 days, Mariuk is preparing a terrible response for Kyiv. There will be a terrible retaliation in Russia for Kyiv. Expect surprises. There will be a lot of them in the next 10 days.
Yes, that's a brilliant start to our Sunday broadcast today. Friends, the 6th of July, Sunday, please like this video. Let us know in the comments what you think about our duo, Sasha plus Dasha. We work twice a week, especially for you, so write lots of interesting things in the comments and also tell us where you're watching from. Sasha, here's something else I was thinking about. Yesterday, as I was watching these clips while preparing for our broadcast, and they started on Saturday evening about the huge crowds and chaos at the airports in Moscow and Saint Petersburg. Everyone is shouting, they're screaming, someone is playing music. It reminded me of the Titanic when, before dying, they decided to play music and dance. Then there were communication outages across the whole country. But essentially, our drones caused a massive collapse at the airports in Russia's 2 largest cities, Moscow and St. Petersburg. So what's next? How did you see this?
Next come terrorist attacks, Dasha. Since you mentioned the Titanic, now they need to play Lolita for them. You know, that famous song from the Titanic, right? In every airport, every single day. So they hear it and get used to it. The traitor. But do you understand what the thing is, Dasha? The thing is, after all these calls with Trump, it's especially unclear who dropped their pants for whom. Was it Trump for Putin or Putin for Trump? And wave there as Maria Zakharova would put it switching to her language, their private part. So after that, Putin needs to force events. He needs to escalate. It's obvious that they didn't come to an agreement. Trump and Putin didn't see eye to eye. It's clear that the deal is off. Witka, now beaten in the testicles by a goose in America, is talking about the need to lift energy sanctions from Russia. Putin doesn't care. He couldn't care less, I'll even put it that way. Vladimir Putin doesn't care about energy sanctions or fertilizer sanctions. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care about anything, Dash. He will continue the war. I'll go even further. This is the last summer of the Russian-Ukrainian war. A different other season is coming. A new stage of the war. A big war is coming. A global war. After a statement by China's top diplomat Wang Yi, who said that they will not let Russia lose, and after the statement by Secretary General Rutte, who indicated that if and when China attacks Taiwan in the near future, Xi will order Volodya Putin to strike at Europe and attack Europe, and that's it. You can forget about everything. The war stopped being regional a long time ago, and now we've reached the climax. The war has become global. And further, since Vladimir Putin wants to escalate the situation, to scale it up, and is being pushed to do so by China, he will do the following. First, he will carry out bloody crackdowns in Russia. You can already see that the vice president of Transneft fell out of a window accidentally, jumped out the 10th one already.
I think he lived on the 11th floor, but he jumped out of the 13th or 17th.
The 17th, he somehow made it up there, you see? No one knows how he got there. The FSB guys threw him out. That's already the 10th one, just in the past few years. The 10th. Just imagine, we wake up, one morning Lavrov has been arrested. Peskov has fled Moscow with secret documents. Shoigu has hanged himself. Can you imagine Putin climbed into the fridge, or rather, Medvedev climbed into that very fridge instead of Putin, the one from which that Russian propagandist Pasha Zarubin drank kefir, that damn centimeter.
Yes.
So if we continue this thought completely seriously, then come terrorist attacks, infighting, and repression. People will be falling out of windows en masse all over Russia. They're already preparing extra train cars heading towards Siberia. Why? Labor camps, convicts, it all continues. Yuganov, I thought he was dead. I thought he was a goner. He was already dead, Zyuganov. No, he showed up. The 19th Congress of the Communist Party, just like Stalin. Stalin died after the 19th. So here's the thing. He came out and said, we need to repeal all these Khrushchev decrees. No, we shouldn't condemn the cult of personality. Stalin is alive and will live on. An order from the Kremlin. So here's the deal. Mass repressions, mass crackdowns, arrests, another gulag. Border bombing of Ukraine is going to intensify and scale all of this up in the near future. So friends, let's respond to the sirens. Respond to all sorts of, yes, sounds, warnings. But most importantly, Dasha, terrorist attacks. Terrorist attacks across the whole country, primarily in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Why? Why would he blow up Gum? Or why would he blow up Prezhisten? Or why would he blow up, I don't know, some stadium in the Russian Federation or even airport? Let me explain. Because it's necessary to abandon contract mobilization, to give up the contract army. Everything needs to be switched to being free of charge. Why? Putin is running out of money for the war. He's running out. Now the Americans are going to impose sanctions. With or without Trump, the Americans will impose sanctions. It's also clear that Congress will impose sanctions. Abramovich is already moving his money out of America right now. At this very moment these days, the Americans will impose sanctions. The Russian economy will get even worse, even worse. It will start to shake. There's already a mess there called a recession. And what happens next? But money is needed for the war. And what about the defense industry? And what about manpower? Where will they get the money? Take it from the manpower, send them to war for free, and hand everything over to Chemesov at Rostec to Rosoboron. How do you do that? You need to provoke some kind of explosion from within. How do you provoke an explosion? Organize mass terrorist attacks. He'll blow up apartment buildings. He'll blow up the Moscow metro. He'll blow up Ostankino. He'll blow up whatever he wants. Even Red Square, along with the mausoleum if he feels like it. He even removed Lenin from the mausoleum, just in case, so he wouldn't be lying there next to him. He closed the mausoleum. He'll blow up the mausoleum. I don't know what's the difference. There will be mass terrorist attacks all over the country and all over Russia. Absolutely everything will be blown up. And then they'll blame it on Ukraine. And that's how they'll start a new stage of the war in the near future.
Yes, friends, let us know in the comments what you think about this. This is truly a serious statement. Stash, I want to bring up the 12 missiles aimed at the Kerch Bridge, because in the past day over there in Crimea, there have been massive explosions and panic. And I'm subscribed to a Telegram channel related to Crimea. They were constantly reporting strikes on the Kerch Bridge and breaches of air defense. In general, for us, the Kerch Bridge is an important target for elimination. What will happen if we inflict serious damage on it?
It's important for Putin because then all of Russia will see that he's exposed, that he can't do anything. Why are there explosions happening in Donetsk right now? Why are missiles flying towards Donetsk, towards the Donetsk region? Because Putin took away the anti-missile, air defense, and anti-aircraft systems from there and sent them to Crimea. He completely stripped Donetsk and the Donetsk region of defenses. There were strikes on Kharkiv.
Yes.
The 8th Combined Arms Army was destroyed, decapitated, left without generals and colonels. Recently, Ukraine delivered another catastrophic blow to them, to the Russian army. So what? Now Crimea is exposed, or rather Donetsk, and he sent everything to Crimea for protection. Why? He was afraid of the missiles, that the bases of the Black Sea Fleet would be destroyed, that the remaining ships would be destroyed, that everything he had been building there for more than 10 years in the occupied Ukrainian Crimea would be destroyed. They are being driven there like cannon fodder, like a human shield Russians themselves, their own fellow citizens, who, by the way, are actually just like him. It's just unclear who is the extension of whom. Is Putin an extension of Russia, or are Russians an extension of Putin? You see? Because they support all of this. If they were losing, they would be whining and blaming Putin. And now, when Putin is bombing Ukraine mercilessly every single day, and Trump turns a blind eye to it, they rejoice, they celebrate. Remember how they screamed in the Kursk region when Putin was bombing them from the air, right? Oh, why us? And now, just like in the Rostov region, they're shouting, oh, what do we have to do with this? Why are we being targeted? We supported Prigozhin. We even gave him flowers and sweets when he was marching on Moscow. But when you were sending your soldiers and lining up in streams, in little paths, holding hands, supporting Putin and his troops, who back then, in their uniforms and backpacks, were marching off to conquer Ukraine, to occupy Kyiv, in 3 days comebacks, you were somehow happy and celebrating. That was when your Russian winter began. And you got smacked in the face for it. And you keep getting smacked in the face. So now, Ukrainian missiles are hitting Crimea. British and French missiles are striking as well. The NATO summit has borne certain fruits. Apparently, the Europeans have given permission to strike Crimea. Putin knows this, but he doesn't have the strength or resources to defend Crimea. If he tries to defend this huge Ukrainian peninsula, he'll have to expose his rear position. That's why everything else is happening. He decided to direct everything toward Crimea. He sent it and got what was coming to him. Ukraine is tracking things very well. Military intelligence, the SBU, other intelligence agencies, foreign intelligence, and so on, they're all tracking very effectively. And what is happening in terms of the redeployment of various types of weaponry, and they understand perfectly well where a strike can be delivered right now. In the near future, there will be catastrophic strike. A catastrophic, deadly, and fateful blow to Russia.
Yes. Malyuk and Budanov will soon be sending their regards to the Russian dictator. Friends, we discussed that Borisogledsk has been blown up, a base with guided aerial bombs and Russian aircraft has been destroyed. The heart of Russia's strategic aviation is being struck at high altitudes. Yes, bomb depots have also been destroyed and the entire facility has been attacked twice. And in the past 24 hours, the number of delayed flights across Russia in Moscow and Saint Petersburg was over 200. And of course, the widespread internet outages, those were all caused by the kind Ukrainian drones that Sobyanin is trying to catch with his bare hands. Sasha?
Wait, Dasha. No. We have nothing to do with the internet here. We're not the ones shutting it down. It's those buddies, Sobyanin, Putin, the FSB guys, and all the rest. Why? Because they need Muscovites to know absolutely nothing, so that the capital stays silent and asleep. They've set records. They've already, shut down the internet in key cities and regions of Russia about 100 times over the past year, if not more.
Yeah.
So they've basically gotten the hang of it and are now doing it as a kind of campaign. Why are they doing this? One day, the internet will disappear in Russia. Russia will curl up into a ball, into a cocoon, and fall into a deep lethargic sleep. And even a flood won't help. Everyone will just sleep through the flood. A flood bloody called Putin. Putin, he'll bomb everyone.
Well, you did bring up the flood in St. Petersburg. I've made 2 videos on my YouTube channel, friends. Go check them out. So this is the first time in 160 years that such an act of God has struck Petersburg. For the first time in 160 years, there's just a hurricane, a flood, and Petersburg is going underwater. It's a real pleasure.
Let him open his beloved Pushkin and read The Bronze Horseman. There, in the end, everyone lost their mind. The same fate awaits him too. At the end of Vladimir Putin's path. Dmitry Lvovich Pikov, says that he will disappear. But I say, first he'll lose his mind, and then he'll disappear. And right before our eyes too.
I hope that his daughters, who are working on prolonging his youth and life, will inject him with some drug that will make him disappear. They'll just mix something up, because as I understand it, I get the impression that Putin is actually growing organs for himself for future transplants. At least that's what I gathered about what he's doing at that Sogas clinic.
I don't know what organs she is growing there. But Dasha, listen, maybe he needs some other organs, but listen. I think he has 2 candidates for that purpose. So he doesn't even need to take anything from himself. No genes, nothing. There's Shoigu, there's Medvedev. Just mummify them like that, preserve them, and take Shoigu's cheeks for yourself. Why pay money? Why spend money on all that plastic surgery? Inject yourself with Botox or whatever else he's using. Here are Shoigu's cheeks, Medvedev's butt, and Hairwell, I don't know who's, maybe General Gerasimov's, and just take all of that for yourself and put it together. What's the difference? A Russian in the provinces doesn't even know what Vladimir Putin really looks like anyway. A monster from Ogla. You see? That's all there is to it.
By the way, we haven't discussed the situation yet. We're talking about Azerbaijan and Russia right now. Will this have serious consequences now when, in fact, I've seen Russian propagandists saying that Azerbaijan, that Baku is a Russian city, as I understand it, they're already preparing for a large-scale war. What is all of this leading to, Sash?
Never mind what they're saying, Dasha. The real issue is that they're filling the base in Gyumri, Armenia, with tanks and weapons. Right now, Putin's military intelligence and mercenaries are quickly searching and staffing army units there. They're forming platoons and so on, organizing the military structure. Brigades. There in Gyumri, they're increasing the number of troops by bringing in people from the occupied territories. From Ossetia, from Abkhazia, from elsewhere, from the Caucasus. And why is he doing this?
Why?
Let me explain. Right now, a NATO base Turkish is about to be established in Azerbaijan. Well, Turkey is a NATO member country, the second strongest army in the alliance after the Americans. So there will be the Turkish army in Azerbaijan, and the Armenians and Azerbaijanis, under the protection of Erdogan and Macron, have decided to sign a peace treaty. This needs to be disrupted, and Aliyev needs to be put in his place. What do you think? Did he forgive that quiet, non-public apology over the phone which he gave to Ilham Aliyev after the crash in December of last year, 2024, in the skies over Chechnya, of the Azerbaijani passenger plane that was flying to Kazakhstan and was shot at, as we know, according to the wiretap released by the Azerbaijani Special Services on the orders of the top command of the Ministry of Defense to fire at Azerbaijan. The order was given, and they fired, and people died. I think the order was also given to fire at MH17, just as brazenly and cynically, the highest military leadership of Russia gave the order to shoot to kill, and they fired. So he will not forgive Aliyev for this.
Have you heard the information? I can't vouch for its verification, that at the moment when the Azerbaijan Airlines plane was attacked, the number 1 plane of the leader of Azerbaijan was also airborne, and he thought that they wanted to eliminate him. I had this information from my guest during a broadcast on my YouTube channel, Dasha.
I don't think Putin wanted to eliminate Aliyev. If I remember correctly, at that time, a meeting between Putin and Aliyev was being planned. I could be mistaken here, but...
So the question is, he was in the air at that moment, his plane, when this tragedy happened.
Well, maybe, but I still think that even though Putin is crazy, he might want to eliminate Aliyev. Listen, Dasha, what do I know for sure?
Right.
What I understand is, first of all, Putin is starting a campaign to destroy all those leaders of the former Soviet republics who stand in his way and who do not want to return to Russia's fold. That's the first thing. Aliyev has long since slipped out of control, and he has shifted his allegiance to Erdogan. They have a joint army with Turkey, joint intelligence, a joint navy, joint air force, everything is shared. Even construction projects are joint. And it's obvious that for now, Erdogan does not want to get directly involved in a military conflict with Putin. But after Aliyev just outright exposed the FSB agents, the FSB officers, lieutenant colonels there in Baku, who were working under the guise of being journalists, propagandists for Margarita Simonian, for the Sputnik outlet. After that, Putin has to show that he's capable of striking back hard, of retaliating, of giving a response. And what needs to be done for that? It's necessary to escalate the situation as much as possible. The problem is that when Vladimir Putin starts escalating a situation, he can't stop. He just can't stop, you see? So basically, this means that ultimately there's a threat that Russia's tanks could head for Bakhmut. But then he'll get a harsh response. Then Turkish fighter jets will destroy the Crimean Russian bases in Crimea. That will happen, 100%. Putin doesn't have a second army. And the Turkish army is not the army of some insignificant European country. It's an army that has seen plenty of combat in the Middle East and Africa. And it's an army that knows how to help, the one that helped Aliyev reclaim Nagorno-Karabakh. This is an army that has fought for decades and has enormous combat experience with technologies that Putin couldn't even dream of. American technology is the best technology in the world. And I am more than certain that the Azerbaijani army, by the way, has Israeli technology, some of the best in the world. So if Putin tries to start something, as with any major conflict or war, Putin will lose this war here.
That's very important. And, Sash, when we talk about the Pacific Fleet, about how you blew up the pipeline there, I started thinking that most likely there are a huge number of SBU sleeper agents on Russian territory. Because to carry out such special operations so far from the Ukrainian border, well, that's serious.
The main sleeper agent, now I'll say his name.
All right.
The main SBU sleeper agent on Russian territory is Vladimir Rudolfovich Solovyov. Very soon, I'm sure Maliuk will load him up with something Ukrainian, I don't know, explosives, a drone, or something else. And at the next award ceremony with Putin, everything will go up in the air, along with the Kremlin and along with Putin. The main sleeper agent is Vladimir Solovyov. It's all about the money, all about the money. So honestly, buying him off is no big deal. He's been bought a long time ago, loaded up a long time ago, and has been ready for anything for a long time. You see? Vladimir Solovyov. Recently, he was even ready to defend Israel with weapons. But then, of course, he forgot about that promise. But I think the main agent Ukraine has over there is, of course, Solovyov. I'm joking, obviously, friends. But you never know. Someone might actually think that Solovyov has long been recruited by the Ukrainian SBU.
Friends, that was some hard trolling, sarcasm. We have a sarcastic show like this, yes?
Yes. So, Dasha, here's what I want to say. I want to say that, indeed, over there in Russia, there are a huge number of, like you said, sleeper agents, and so on, partisans. And many American publications wrote about this, and they were very surprised. American and British intelligence were very surprised because it turned out that Ukrainians had infiltrated much more deeply entire Russian intelligence. All the security agencies, the Kremlin, and so on and so forth, are permeated with Ukrainian agents. Because, as it turns out, over the decades, people have made contacts and have always worked in the interests of Ukraine, not Russia. And this is a big problem. What happened, this Operation Spiderweb, is because there are such sleeper agents. What happened with the Pacific Fleet and continues to happen is also because there are such sleeper agents. Ukraine has thousands of sleeper agents in Russia. I'm afraid to imagine what would happen if they all woke up at once. And I think there is a goal out there to make sure they all wake up. I think such a goal will be set, yes. And then there would be a bada boom. Yes, that's how you usually say. There will be a big bada boom all across Russia.
By the way, the audience is always curious why I use that word. Friends, if you're a fan of quality cinema, there's a brilliant film called The Fifth Element by Luc Besson, where the main character, the fifth element who saved the whole world, said this phrase, boom, bada boom. That's where it's from. Because everyone is curious about why it's said that way. Sasha, about the boom, bada booms. Here's something else I want to discuss with you. So we see that Donald Trump, for the first time, has said that he is dissatisfied with Putin. This kind of rhetoric is rather strange for him in general. Their honeymoon, their homoerotic relationship is being discussed all over the world. Does this mean that soon American deep bombs will attack Putin's bunker, or not just yet?
It means that Donald Trump will soon have to give Ukraine everything, because there is no other option left here. But on his national holiday, on the day of the holiday, the 249th anniversary since the founding of America. Putin recently said that he was the one who created America for Trump. Didn't you see that? The transcript of that idiotic statement that it was Russia that created America, that's what he said. So the 249th anniversary, Putin pissed his pants, took them off in front of Trump, waved his junk around and slapped Trump across the face with it. And he did it public because right after the phone call, which Trump was unhappy about, Putin went and carried out one of the largest strikes across all of Ukraine, including Kyiv. And he struck everywhere he could, even hitting the Polish consulate, just to show the Europeans that he didn't care about anyone, not Trump, not the Europeans. And after that, of course, Trump has no idea what to do. He's unhappy with the conversation. But what did he expect? Did he think Putin would listen to him? Number. Did he think Putin would turn his back on China? No. We've all seen who is orchestrating the war and who is the main player in this war. He thought that Putin would back down and say, all right, lift the sanctions off me and I'll agree to everything. I'll sign any agreement, arrangement, memorandum, and so on with Ukraine and Zelensky. Number but, as far as I understand, Russia has publicly stated that if America stops helping Ukraine and Western, primarily American arms, stop flowing into Ukraine, then that's it. They're ready to sit down at the negotiating table and there will be peace. Where is this peace? Are Putin and Zelensky meeting for negotiations in Geneva tomorrow? Signing a peace treaty together with Trump? Without Trump? With whom? Nothing of the sort is going to happen. Vladimir Putin has no such plan. But does Trump want this or not? Right now, he's thinking about the Patriot. Now, everyone is blaming that poor, half-drunk defense minister, the Fox News journalist, who for the third time has gotten himself into some very strange situation. So it's clear that it was Trump who made this decision. But there is pressure from Americans, from the American elite, from the American media, pressure from American industrialists in the defense industry, pressure from American financiers, and pressure from congressmen and senators. And Trump was left not just in the minority, but one-on-one. And right next to him, there's Elon Musk, who's just as crazy as he is, creating a new party and trying to snatch power away from Trump. So what is he supposed to do? He urgently needs to become a benevolent hawk and help Ukraine. And very soon, we'll see all the missiles that will be sent to Ukraine. Yes, they wanted to organize this post together against Ukraine and the Europeans. Yes, Trump plans to pull out of Europe and Ukraine and hand over this entire vast territory of the European bloc, the European continent, to Putin. Why? Let me explain. Because everyone will be fighting in Europe and Trump will be the one funding it all. He'll be selling weapons to everyone, giving out money and trading with all sides. And he'll be destroying Europe, whom he sees as his main geopolitical rival, not China, not Russia. He considers Europe the main competitor on the planet. But in the near future, Trump's plans will be neutralized and collapse. Of course, we are facing difficult times ahead. Naturally, the situation will be turbulent. Obviously, everything we're witnessing right now is very complicated. Putin will take advantage of, or rather try to take advantage of this window of opportunity, but he has little time, no money, and he's facing major problems. And on top of all that, Dash hellish sanctions will soon